Pat here. Now I know it's not October, but with everyone stuck inside due to the coronavirus, I figure what better way to kill time than to watch horror movies? Now I know when you're stuck in quarantine, you may think that the walls are closing in on you or you're starting to go mad. With that theme in mind, today's pick is from the works of HP Lovecraft. It's Color Out of Space.
It's weird. The works of HP Lovecraft have been around for about 100 years. They've been famous for about that same amount of time, but you don't get many direct movie adaptations of his work, which is a shame because there's such a deep well you could mine from. I've discussed his stories before and even did a top 10 list of my favorite Lovecraftian movies. One of the things I enjoy about his stories is how insignificant humanity actually is. It's like a construction company is getting ready to build a new house, but there's a small anthill on the property. You're not even going to notice it, but it's still going to wipe out a whole colony. Now, these beings in these stories aren't necessarily evil. They're just so beyond human understanding, it's impossible to comprehend. Humans like to think of themselves as important. I mean, even in Greek mythology, the gods feared a human uprising. But in Lovecraft stories, part of the horror is knowing that you're completely insignificant to the force or forces working against you. And that, to me, is terrifying. The movie introduces us to a family of 5 living a mostly normal life on a rural farm in Arkham, Massachusetts, when all of a sudden a meteorite crashes into their front yard. Days later, and things start getting weird. Beautiful plants start growing around the impact area. All the fruits and vegetables start growing faster and bigger, but they're completely inedible. The animals, they also change, and the water just has a weird sheen to it. The entire family then slowly starts to lose their grips on reality. They're losing time, lashing out at one another. Weird rashes are showing up on the father's arm, and the youngest son sits on the ground trying to communicate with what he says is the man in the well. It's really unnerving watching them fall apart as some unknowable force is making it impossible for them to escape. Let me say this. I've never seen a movie have something be so pretty and so ominous at the same time. The color out of space is a brilliant shade of, I guess, magenta, and it just looks so pretty you can't help but get lost in the backgrounds. It's like you're watching a live painting. Eventually, that color starts getting into everything, and when you see it, bad things start happening. There are many shots in this movie where you wish you could just be there in person and just stare at these plants, because the movie is chock full of gorgeous scenery and brilliant flashes of light that hide a deadly something. The movie is a shade under 2 hours, and it does drag a bit at times, but that is my one and only complaint. The acting is top-notch from every single person in this movie. You can watch in real time as each of them slowly starts succumbing to the insane situations surrounding them. Granted, you can expect madness from the main character when he's played by Nicolas Cage. A while back, I was watching some special features for Into the Spider-Verse, and at one point the director told Cage to play up his character a bit more, and Cage responded with, "Oh, you want full Cage?" And in this movie, he goes full Cage. He's at his best when he's unhinged, and seeing him lose his mind in such a picturesque setting is quite a sight to behold. They do have one character that's decidedly sane, and you get to see through his eyes this family fall apart. He's also named Ward Phillips. It's a cute little Easter egg because the author of the original story was named Howard Phillips Lovecraft. He pops up from time to time to really show off how off the rails everything has gone over on that farm, and you get to see him do his best to try and save these people, despite it being an impossible task. Another part that I just have to talk about is a scene involving a news crew. I work in the news, and while there's no way they'd frame this interview the way they did when you're not going live, it's a really funny scene that made me laugh. When the crew gets there, the meteorite is gone, and despite doing his best, Cage just sounds and looks like a complete loon in the interview, and the reporter is doing her best to get him to sound nuts. It's really entertaining seeing Cage watch the interview on TV later with his family, just ranting about how ridiculous they made him sound. At one point, the reporter asked him if he was drunk, and he says something along the lines of he enjoys the taste of bourbon on occasion. Then his lower third switches below his name, calling him a bourbon connoisseur, as he stutters and slurs his words. Like I said, it wouldn't happen like that in real life, but damn is it funny. There are some scary scenes and one extremely disturbing visual. I really don't want to get into spoiler territory for this, because it's so heartbreaking and so difficult to watch, and just so Lovecraft, that you really should see it for yourself. This is actually the first in a trilogy of Lovecraft adaptations, with the next being the Dunwich Horror. I admit Lovecraft's style of writing can be very difficult to transfer onto the big screen. After seeing this movie though, I'm fully confident whatever this director decides to do from Lovecraft in the future. There are so many great stories he's done. I'm always holding out hope for movies on At the Mountains of Madness, The Shadow over Innsmouth, and the obvious, The Call of Cthulhu. 8.5 Dr. Chainsaws.